Today we are reading Stories of the Saints by Carrie Wallace and illustrated by Nick Thornborough.
And today we are reading about
Basil. His time, we're just pronouncing it Basil, could be Basil, we don't know. His time was 330 to 379, which is like 1700 years ago, something like that. His location was Caesarea and Cappadocia. His emblems were a Booker scroll, a long black beard, and bishop's robes. He is a patron of reformers, monks, education, exorcism, and Russia. This one seems kind of random, but his feast day is January 2nd.
All right. Basil's grandparents were Christians when it was still illegal to be a Christian in the Roman Empire. They spent years hiding out in the mountains so they wouldn't be arrested for their faith or killed. By the time Basil was born, Constantine had become emperor of Rome. And because Constantine was a Christian, Christianity became the official religion. So Basil didn't have to hide his faith. In fact, when he was a student, he didn't take it all that seriously until he met the bishop, Eustathius. When Basil listened to Eustathius, he suddenly felt like he'd spent most of his life worrying about nonsense. It was like waking up out of a deep sleep. The world didn't impress him anymore, and from then on, Basil wanted only to study God. His sister Macrina had already started a Christian community on their family land, but now Basil traveled to visit monks in Palestine, Egypt, Syria, and Mesopotamia to learn everything he could about a life with God. When he came home, he gave away everything he had and went off to live in the wilderness, just like St. Anthony. But in the wilds outside his hometown, Basil realized something. He hated living alone. Not only that, but he believed he heard God calling him to invite other people to live together in community. So Basil founded another community near his sister's, where people banded together to pray and care for the poor. And the rules he wrote for it formed a foundation for all of the monasteries that came after it, even today. Now that Christianity was the official religion of the empire, Christians couldn't stop arguing with one another. Some of them, called Arians, were spreading the idea that Jesus wasn't really God. Basil believed Jesus was God, and he thought that was important, because Jesus could only save people if he was God. So Basil organized debates with the Arians, which the Arians lost. When the bishop died, Basil was elected in his place, and as bishop, his first concern was always for the poor. He was careful to choose priests who wouldn't be tempted by wealth or try to sell people spiritual gifts that God wanted to give everyone for free. He criticized any injustice he saw, and he still found time to preach to crowds who came to see him every morning and every evening. "Why are you wealthy while that other man is poor?" he asked. "Are you not a cheater, taking things God gave you to share and making them your own? The bread which you hold back belongs to the hungry. The coat which you guard in your locked closet belongs to the naked. The silver that you keep hidden belongs to anyone in need." When Emperor Constantine died, a new emperor, Valens, took the throne. He was an Arian, and he sent one of his officers named Modestus to argue with Basil. But Modestus realized he couldn't convince Basil that Jesus wasn't God. So Modestus started to threaten him. "Are you crazy?" he asked Basil. "Are you the only person in the world who won't bow to the empire? Aren't you afraid of the emperor or exile or death?" "No," said Basil. "A person who owns nothing has nothing to lose. You can't send me into exile because the whole world is my home. And if you kill me, you will only end my suffering forever." "Nobody has ever dared to speak to me this way," Modestus said. "Maybe that's because you've never tested your strength against a Christian bishop," Basil told him. When Emperor Valens heard about this, he was so impressed with Basil's faith that he didn't punish him. Instead, he gave Basil land outside the city, where Basil built homes and hospitals for the poor that still stand there today. That's impressive.